Let us now reflect on Jesus' hands. Jesus grew up in Nazareth, which was a countryside hamlet surrounded by land used for basic farming. And all the evidence suggests that the people were pretty poor. The homes they lived in would have been simple buildings, mud floor, walls built of local rough stone, roof made from wooden rafters and thatch. And Jesus was part of an artisan's family, and his hands would have been rough from work with wood and stone, perhaps having hardly any fingerprint like builders do today. Jesus lived in a tactile society where personal space and touching were understood a bit differently from today. People held more things in common. They would have freely walked arm in arm or embraced, as in Mediterranean cultures. In worship, Jesus would have lifted his hands in prayer and clapped in praise. Within his years of ministry, his hands blessed children, raised up the sick and the dead. They were used to break and share bread. His fingers made a mud paste to put on a blind man's eyes. He used his hands to make a whip of cords to drive out the temple moneylenders and to draw in the dust when challenged to judge the woman caught in adultery. According to the gospel, Jesus' hands were bound from the moment of his arrest. He doesn't use his hands to retaliate, and it's noticeable that the last act of his free hands is to heal the ear of the servant that Peter attacked. He knew that the key reason for his death was to release God's healing into the world, not to encourage his followers to behave violently. We don't often think about the vulnerability of someone who has been bound. We might use our hands to steady ourselves, especially when walking. And part of the imagery of the last part of Jesus' life was that he was bound up like a lamb ready for sacrifice, unable to steady himself, to resist or defend himself. Arriving at his place of crucifixion, Jesus' hands were nailed to the cross, probably through the wrists, as it was likely that the palms wouldn't support the whole weight of a man's body. As we see Jesus' hands stretched out and nailed to the cross, we may think of them as extended in welcome, as so often in life. Jesus himself said that when he was lifted up, he would draw all people to himself. In opening his hands, he lets go of all things, possessions, family, friends, and life itself. And is able to do this because he knows that the Father has placed all things in his hands. We are far less tactile than the people of Jesus' day, but we know how important touch is, especially at the moment when so many of us are refraining from physical contact with friends and family for fear of infection. Our hands are vehicles of our emotions. Probably few of us use them to strike, but they may of course be clenched in anger on occasion. And we use them to show that we care, whether this is a reassuring hand on the shoulder or a caress. They're the way that we often exercise our work or our creative gifts, playing music, cooking, painting, flower arranging, DIY, writing. Do we use our hands for the work of Christ? To be reconciled to our enemies as we extend the hand of friendship? To pray for others? To fetch and carry for those in need? To share with those who have little? To give to those who have nothing? The open arms and open palms of Jesus on the cross encourage us to do likewise, to open our arms to all in whom we will find Christ, and to open our hands to give and bless, to heal and reconcile, and to share peace.